Welcome in, listener. You're listening to a segment from the Slumpbuster podcast with Ju-Ju and Dre. Find the full episode on Spotify, iTunes, the Google Play Store, or our YouTube channel. Enjoy.
What I'm really looking forward to is going to be the MLB postseason. So that takes place on Tuesday. And one of the teams that won't be around to participate is the team that we were told would be world beaters this year. They added JT Realmuto. They added Andrew McCutchen. And, of course, they added Bryce Harper for a whopping 13 years, $330 million. Yes, I'm talking about the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Phillies were eliminated by Bryce Harper's former employer, the Washington Nationals, this week. And, hey, bright side, you only have to pay him for another 12 years, Philly. So good job there. The downside, 10-year contracts in baseball tend to not be like fine wine. They tend to not really age well. Some of the other notable 10-year deals around the sport in the last couple decades have been like Alex Rodriguez. He technically got paid twice. Giancarlo Stanton, Albert Pujols, and now Bryce Harper. Only A-Rod out of that group can say he won a title. And this one came out in New York, which, hey, they're used to it. The other teams, on the other hand, they consistently miss the playoffs. And I think it just goes to show that the market will always work out for these players when it comes to these deals, because there's always going to be bad teams that are willing to offer them. No matter how many analytic guys tell you that, no, it's a terrible decision, there's always going to be some poor franchise that will still pay these guys because they don't know any better. And, hey, there's always going to be bad teams in sports. Another missing piece in this year's postseason, and this one's near and dear to my heart, obviously, as a San Francisco Giants fan, but Bruce Bochy won't be participating. In fact, unfortunately, Bruce Bochy, after this weekend, will no longer be the coach of the San Francisco Giants. He's moving on into retirement. The one bright side I'll say about this season is, hey, at least, Bruce, they were able to get you your 2000th win. You're only the 11th manager in MLB history to accomplish that feat. I wish Bruce nothing but the best in retirement, but I tell you, it's going to be weird to look into that dugout and not see him, like, walking around. One of my favorite memories as a kid is I actually do have Bruce Bochy's signature on a ball. Kind of a weird novelty, but I have him signed on a Seattle Mariners ball, so I always look back fondly at that. Bruce Bochy, Hall of Fame, 5 years from now. Let's see, so 2024.
So I don't know the economics of baseball as much as you probably do, and I know that they don't have quite like the cap that some of the other sports have. So do you think it would ever be the case where we might see some of these star baseball players take a pay cut to maybe allow their team to get really good players and surround them with good players?
No, I mean, not as long as it's guaranteed money, which as much flack as the NFL gets for not having guaranteed money, it gives the players more motivation to continue to perform at a high level. Oftentimes after players get paid in the MLB, they start to decline, and they decline drastically because the MLB has a bad reputation for paying players on what they've done, not what they're going to do. So when you see these 10-year deals given, they're usually given after a player's already performed in their prime, which would be disappointing for a player like Bryce Harper because he did get this deal in his 20s. It's not like he was already 34 and got a 10-year deal like we've seen kind of with Alex Rodriguez. I mentioned his name. But yeah, economically with baseball, when you do have like a sport with guaranteed contracts and money, it does definitely lessen the flexibility of these rosters to move players around or move off of bad contracts. And ultimately player motivation too doesn't really stick at a high level. I think honestly, if baseball was more like the NFL, baseball's popularity might actually be at a higher level than it is right now, because you see too many of these terrible contracts kind of like slow teams down for years.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the exact same thing. Is you get a lot of these guys, or even if it's not necessarily the guy has gone over the hill and they're no longer performing at the level they have been, they just can't do it all by themselves, right? And so with baseball, because there's so many other moving pieces, that you can have a really high paid player that can still be very good. It's just not ever going to be enough to get your team to, to the postseason.
I mean, we mentioned it. Bad franchises have a reputation for remaining bad. It's just the way things are. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Angels, they paid Mike Trout, and you could argue that contract's working out just fine right now. But hey, the Angels are also going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll ever get back to the playoffs. And so do you really want to – I mean, it's nice to cheer for Mike Trout, right? Like, he's I've heard a lot of people regard him as the best baseball player. And again, like, I'm not a baseball expert, but I always think it's fun to cheer for Mike Trout and the Angels. Yeah, I like a lot of the LA teams, but I'm not ever expecting the Angels to make the playoffs, right? And it sucks when that's your team, that's the team you root for, and they're never going to make it to the postseason.
Yeah, and then, hey, they also handed out a terrible deal to Albert Pujols. They're probably the benchmark for these bad contracts now. Well,
Yep.
Yeah. With that said, hey, I look forward to the MLB postseason. Like I said, starts Tuesday. We're going to probably go more in depth on it next week. And actually, too, we're going to be starting a new series here starting up in October. You've seen YouTube reviewers. You've seen people to talk about sports movies. Well, we're going to bring that together. So starting up in October, specifically for our baseball fans, we're going to be talking about 4 of our favorite Major League Baseball movies. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be posting the reviews on our YouTube channel, and we hope you enjoy when we get into that.